Good morning. I'm Joanne Lee, Associate Pastor for Community Formation at Calvary Presbyterian Church in San Francisco. This faith community has a commitment to adult education and spiritual formation, sponsoring online gatherings on Sunday as well as at other times. We believe a part of fostering our faith includes living it out in the world and helping break cycles of poverty. During this pandemic, we can't gather as we normally would, but we still want to provide opportunities for learning as well as connecting with our Breaking Cycles of Poverty partners. And today we have Rob Connolly with us from the Boys and Girls Club of San Francisco. This organization inspires and enables all young people, especially those from disadvantaged circumstances, to realize their full potential as productive, responsible, and caring citizens. Last year, the Boys and Girls Club of San Francisco served over 1,800 youth per day. As we get started, I invite you to join me in prayer. Let us pray. God of grace, we thank you for the technology that allows us to gather and to continue learning even as we social distance and shelter in place. We thank you for the commitment of those who help make this day happen, our elders and leaders, those who work behind the scenes, and of course the incredible staff and leadership at the Boys and Girls Club of San Francisco. As we gather, open our hearts to hear and see something new, something fresh about how you are at work in the world, especially here in the Bay Area. Inspire us to greater understanding, greater compassion, and greater faithfulness. Amen. Today, we are delighted to introduce you to Rob Connolly. Rob is the president of the Boys and Girls Club of San Francisco and has worked for the Boys and Girls Club since 1998. During his tenure, Rob and his team have developed and implemented programs and services that measurably improve the lives of young people, including enhanced health and mental health services, youth workforce development programs and opportunities, academic programs, outdoor education, award-winning art programs, and now he is leading the organization through a global pandemic. We are so grateful for the work that the Boys and Girls Club of San Francisco continues to do to help break cycles of poverty in our city, and we are proud to partner with them in that work.
Being able to be in San Francisco and work with inner city youth, it's like seeing myself in a lot of the kids that we serve. Kids of color, black and brown kids that just need to see a little bit of themselves in mentors like myself.
I met Lucretia about 4 years ago, and we started having deep conversations about our life, and I got really close to her.
Anta is incredible. Over the years, we've just really grown to have a mutual respect for each other.
I know I could always talk to her and go to her for anything. I know we're still gonna be connected, even after I leave.
I'm excited to watch her graduate and see what she's gonna do in the next 5, 10, 20 years because she's got a very bright future ahead of her.
Without the club, I wouldn't really have much of a clear path to what I want to do. I know that I want to be my own boss, so that means basically being an entrepreneur, wanting to be one of those women in the future, inspiring other little girls of color. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what you look like. We all have the chance of being whoever we want.
I'm impressed at the influence and impact our staff have on young people, on communities, and on this city. It's a gift that's too easily overlooked and too often undervalued. There is a temptation to think that the work we do is easy, that it can be done by staff with little experience and few skills. Let me tell you, there's nothing that is further from the truth. Our clubhouses, camp, and school-based clubs are anchored and led by highly skilled, well-educated, and experienced staff members who make an enormous sacrifice to do the work. The question we grapple with is how do we reconcile the need to get and keep amazing staff, who are the key ingredient to our success, with how challenging it is for those amazing staff to live and work here. With all the incredible things our staff do for our city, I absolutely want them to be able to live, work, and thrive in the Bay Area. There is simply no substitute for having loving, supportive, and consistent adults in a child's life. Our staff ensure that every child is heard and understood, and that they will succeed in life.
My future is bright because the club has been there for me.
Because the club has given me a safe and welcoming place to be.
The club keeps it real with me and always helps me out.
My future is bright because the club has exposed me to many career opportunities.
Because the club has made me into a strong and confident woman.
Because I believe I have the resources to get there.
Because the club inspires me to do better.
Because of how welcoming the club is.
Because the club believes in me.
Hello, my name is Joni Lackman. I have been a member at Calvary since 1999. I've served as an elder and a deacon over the years, and I'm currently a deacon. I also sit on the Faith and Action team at Calvary, and part of the work of the Faith and Action team is centered on the 4 poverty partners that Calvary chose many years ago under the umbrella of breaking the cycles of poverty. One of those partners is Boys and Girls Clubs of San Francisco, and that is why I'm here today to introduce this organization to you all. We're going to be hearing from Rob Connolly, who is the president of Boys and Girls Clubs of San Francisco, and he's going to talk about some of the ways that this organization has been filling the gaps for young people in the city during the time of COVID and during the time of this racial unrest. So I hope that you come out the other side of this video having a little bit more understanding and connection to this organization. We would love to see more people volunteer, and certainly we'll, at the end of the video, show ways for you all to become more involved. So without further ado, Rob Connolly, the president of Boys and Girls Clubs of San Francisco.
Hi everyone, happy to be with you. Joni, thank you very much for the introduction. Joni and I started together at Boys and Girls Club almost 21 years ago, 1 week apart. It's been quite a ride. So Joni, again, thanks for the introduction. Everyone, I'm happy to be with you. Let me start by saying a heartfelt thank you to Calvary Presbyterian Church for your dedication, your financial support, your volunteer support of the Boys and Girls Club. It's super meaningful and greatly appreciated. Let me just start with a little bit of an overview of the Boys and Girls Clubs of San Francisco. First, I should say we've been in the city of San Francisco since 1891, so 129 years now. We have 14 locations, 13 here in San Francisco, and then we own and operate a summer camp up in Mendocino County. 4 of our sites are in schools. 8 of our sites are what we call traditional Boys and Girls Clubs and neighborhood-based buildings. And then we operate as the master tenant of a park in the Tenderloin. During normal times, we reach over 1,850 kids a day and over 19,000 kids a year. So that's changed a bit during COVID, and we're serving less kids per day by design, but making perhaps the biggest contribution we've made in 129 years during this time of COVID. We serve kids ages 6 to 18, which is a bit unusual for nonprofit after-school programs. A lot of times people are in the space of serving either elementary school age kids or elementary and middle school, or they're serving high school age. We're certainly not alone in serving what we call school age youth, meaning all the way from 1st grade to 12th grade, but it is unusual, and it's a very important part of our work. It's what we think of as a continuum of care. A young person can join us at 6 years old and stay with us until 18. And while a lot may change in their lives, certainly the schools that they attend will change, and maybe even where they live might change, but the Boys and Girls Club doesn't for many. They continue to come to us every day after school, all day during school breaks, all day during the summer, and essentially grow up with us. We consider ourselves a close partner with the school district. We consider ourselves a close partnership with the city of San Francisco, its Department of Children, Youth, and Their Families. And even more so, we consider ourselves a partner with families and young people, and helping to have them reach 18. What we talk a lot about is having young people reach the age of 18 ready for life. That's who we are in a nutshell. I'll turn my attention now to some of the questions that were put to me and give you some of my thoughts on these things. So thinking a little bit about how we've been functioning during this global pandemic, I guess the first thing I'd want to say is I am super, super proud of our staff team. And, that's everyone from our back office staff to our frontline staff. But in particular, our frontline staff who have shown up day after day and really put themselves in harm's way to do the work that we do to support young people and their families. This has been a really challenging time. I mean, one of the things I was saying right from the beginning was, our natural inclination when there's real need, especially in our communities and especially facing young people, is we run into the fire. And we had to really sort of test ourselves and check ourselves and make sure we weren't kind of recklessly running into the fire. We needed to make sure that we not only did the right thing for kids and families and communities, but that we did the right thing for staff as well. We've worked very, very hard to create a very safe environment in our clubs. One of the decisions we've made is that we serve way fewer kids in our buildings than we would have before. So one of the questions that was put forward to me was, what are some of the misconceptions about the challenges that young people face in realizing success in life? As soon as I read that, I thought about something that I talk about fairly often, which is this glorified idea that people could just pull themselves up by their bootstraps. I always find that to be really an oversimplified answer. Our young people are up against some really significant challenges, and those challenges aren't just individual challenges where I face this one challenge and then I face a second challenge and then I face a third challenge. These challenges stack on top of each other and each one further complicates the previous challenge. So, not only, it might be that, a family is living in poverty, but they're not only living in poverty. They might also be living in a community that experiences a lot of violence. They might also be dealing with significant health issues in their home, or their extended family. They may be dealing with environmental health issues, meaning in the community there's issues, whether it's in the housing structure they live in. We've had a lot of situations in some of our public housing where you've got mildew and mold issues and it's affecting young people. And then, of course, you've got schools that that some of our young people attend that really struggle to help educate them effectively. All these things stack on top of one another, and each thing further complicates the previous thing. And the other thing I would say is often I hear the answer, and frankly, it's something I believe in too. Education is the key. And it is the key, but it's not as simple as kids need to go to a good school, right? So if we could just get these kids out of, the neighborhood school or, out of the neighborhood and go to a school, then it's all going to be good. And I always discount that and say, think about your own lives and where your kids go to school. And, many, perhaps most kids are going to really effective schools. Some of them public schools, some of them private schools. You have to remember all the things that you also do to support them, all the extracurricular activities they're involved with, whether it's sports or dance or art programs, summer camps, what you do as a family when you go on vacation, what you do when you have, game night in your house or, family movie night and, the loving atmosphere that you all create. All these things are incredibly important in young people's lives. Young people, in the nonprofit sector and the youth development space, which is how we define ourselves, we think about the whole child. And it's not simply about them, needing a great school. Now, they do need a great school. I am all for great schools. I wish our schools were palaces. I wish they had unbelievable resources. But still, the school day ends, and it ends at 2 o'clock, 2:30, maybe 3 o'clock. And there's after school, and there's what we call out of school time. And those things that you all do in your homes to support your children are equally, if not exponentially more important for the young people that we serve. And the Boys and Girls Club provides this opportunity for young people to walk in our doors and have access to so many of those things that you may be driving your child around to. They might go to swim lessons at one place and a dance lesson at another place. They might go to a creative arts or a theater program someplace else. You may have a nanny or a family member who looks after them for an hour or two after school before you get home from work. The Boys and Girls Club provides all of those supports to families. So young people walk in our door, our youngest ones walk in our door at 2:30, or teens maybe walk in closer to 4, and they have a whole opportunity after school to engage with us in a myriad of programs and opportunities that grow with them as they get older in our program. And they have these opportunities to supplement what they're learning in school with opportunities for growth at the club. They get an opportunity to do socializing at the club, learning how to work with other kids that, they may come from a different part of the neighborhood or may go to a different school, and they develop new relationships. They learn to cooperate with one another. Those are many of the important things that we offer at the Boys and Girls Club. And, these things are incredibly valuable to a young person as we think about the whole child and their pathway to success in life. So obviously during this pandemic, we had the murder of George Floyd, the killing of Breonna Taylor, the killing of Ahmaud Arbery, and all the unrest that came along with that. We've all, as a nation, been greatly affected by that. And that's true of the Boys and Girls Club as well. I mean, we're an organization that is, very diverse. We are an organization that serves communities of color, always has. We've got a very strong relationship with our communities. I think people really understand the authenticity of the work that we do. And yet, as we've gone through this time, we've had to look ourselves in the eye and really challenge our own thinking, our own approach, to make sure that we're challenging some of the systems around us, that we're challenging ourselves, to make sure that we're creating an environment where all young people can succeed. We've done a lot of work in the last 4 or 5 years of really promoting youth voice, really trying to have our youth shape more of what we do, and that it's done in an authentic way. And we're going to push ourselves to do this even more. In this case, during this time, that's a youth voice that wants to be heard about how they feel about race in America today, and how they feel about their own experience at school or in their neighborhood, or maybe at their Boys and Girls Club. We need to promote that, but also going forward, we want to continue to promote our young people's voice and shaping how we program and how we think about our work. And then we need to challenge ourselves with the development of our staff, and how do we make sure that some of those great young people grow up with us as members of the Boys and Girls Club, then become a staff member, have the opportunity to move up in the organization. We have been focused on this for a long time, but we don't always nail it. And this is the idea of, like, you take a staff member who's what we call a kid magnet. The kids just love being around them. They're a very good programmer, and they may program for many years. Let's say they program for 7 to 8 years, but they're growing themselves along the way, and maybe they're starting a family and they're looking to sort of move up and have some career opportunities. And at some point, they need to move up to the jobs that pay more in the organization. They need to move up to the opportunities and responsibilities that create a career in the work. And we need to make sure we're providing those opportunities. So how do you take a staff member who may be a great athletic director or a great learning center director, and how do you make sure they get some management experience, and how do you push them to then take advantage of the opportunity to move up into a management job, even when they don't feel like they're yet ready? Can we push them to take that job, and can we provide the supports around them to take the job? These are all really important, things. And I think we need to make sure that always at the table there's a diversity of thought. Diversity comes in all shapes and sizes, and I think we need to continue to sort of challenge ourselves. Not only having racial diversity in the room, but it's having racial diversity with gender diversity. It's having voices from our LGBT community. It's having voices of younger people, having voices of older people, having a willingness to have some uncomfortable moments in rooms where people don't always agree, and not feeling like diversity means just because we're in San Francisco or in a community that's more kind of left-leaning, that diversity always means that you're embracing, only, progressive and left-leaning, viewpoints, but how are we open to sort of hearing all sort of viewpoints, and we create an environment in which all people can be comfortable in our organization. These are challenges that I think we face, and we're happy to be working through them, and happy to be challenging ourselves. We need to continue to look at our board and opportunities for our board to continue to become more aware of the experiences of our young people on the ground, young people and their families, and how race shows up in their lives and every day. And we all need to, across the board in this society, be willing to challenge ourselves to do things very differently in order to reach very different outcomes. One of the things we set out pretty early on in this pandemic was this idea of being nimble and flexible. I think we also use the word adaptive. And I've been really proud of our team and their ability to do just that. In the month of April, the months of April and May, we wound up getting a lot into food distribution in our communities. We were not in a position in every community to be able to provide youth development services. We had all of our sites open for the first few weeks of the shelter in place, and then we went down to 4 sites for April and May. But we reached close to 4,500 meals a week at the peak of our meal distribution program, which was really, really meaningful. And our families, our kids were showing up at the clubhouse to pick up food to bring back to their families, and that was terrific. During that time, one of our clubhouses was open 13 hours a day. We opened at 6:30 in the morning and we closed at 7:30 at night, and we were serving essential workers in San Francisco with the primary focus on hospital workers. So not just those in healthcare, but everyone who works in a hospital and supports having a hospital run correctly. And our staff just stepped up. We had shifts of staff who came through. And then in the summertime, starting in June, we had 10 sites open. It was really exciting to have kids at the clubs. We did as much outdoors as we could. We did a great job with social distancing and creating and keeping our pods, where we had a static number of kids working with the same staff each day. And our staff continued just to adapt. So everyone who was an art director before, or an athletic director, or an education director, they all kind of shed those old jobs and became, for lack of a better term, cabin leaders, as if they were at a summer camp. And they were leaders of these pods. We call them cohort leaders. And they created a sense of family in these pods. And we used some of the expertise we had from our staff in Camp Mendocino to talk with our staff, train our staff how to think about creating a community on day one, just like we would at camp when we have a cabin full of kids. How do you create some unity among the kids and develop a nice atmosphere to be able to build a great 10 days up at Camp Mendocino? We did the same thing for our kids here in the city. We ran that through the end of July, and then we took a break. And now here at the start of the school year, we are opening up first day of school, which of course will be distance learning for school. Boys and Girls Club will be open. We'll have 10 sites open, and we'll provide an environment for young people to come in with their technology that they get from the schools. We will supplement that if there's a need to supplement it, and they can plug into school and do their work at the Boys and Girls Club with our supervision, our guidance. But we'll also be doing the good youth development work that we do and supporting young people and doing the supplemental educational work, the lunch and the daily snack. We'll be doing some wellness programming and mental health work, and making sure, again, as we always do, that we look at the whole child. So support them in school, but then do the wraparound to help make sure that they're successful. And our clubs have been gearing up for this. What we're talking about, or how we're thinking about things, is starting August 17th, we've got a 3-week window that gets us to the other side of Labor Day. That's our sort of first chunk of time. We'll learn a lot during that time. We'll make adjustments. Again, we'll be flexible, nimble, adaptive. And then we'll open up a 4-week window, which will take us through the beginning of October. And then we'll open up another 4-week window that'll take us the beginning of November, and we'll respond accordingly with how the virus is affecting our community, how the San Francisco Department of Public Health is guiding us with their health orders. And again, I just give so many kudos to our staff for the way in which they've shown up. They've been true heroes. My big hope of coming out of this is that there's a far greater appreciation for folks who work in the out-of-school time space, folks like us. I've seen this across the country. My colleagues who run Boys and Girls Clubs in Fort Worth and in Denver and in Reno and Houston and Boston, some of these other communities, they're showing up in a similar way. And yet when we think about the things that young people need, when we talk about this as a nation, we talk so much about school, we may talk about early childhood, but we don't talk enough about out-of-school time. And it's my big hope coming out of this that people have a much greater appreciation for the profound work that happens in the out-of-school time space to augment things that happen in the home and things that happen at school, to really provide a full, rich experience for young people, in our case, especially young people from at-risk circumstances. So I again just want to say thank you to Calvary for your great generosity and your true partnership. You know, there's something about the authenticity that we've seen from the Calvary partnership. I think that's particularly noteworthy. And so we love the wantingness that you all have to come in and experience the club and get your hands dirty and get to know our kids and our staff. We think there's an authenticity to how you think about your engagement. We love the fact that you think about it as a partnership and you see that you're learning in the process and getting something out of the partnership while you're giving so much as well. I'll say we're very clear that we have a lot to offer with the relationships we have with kids and communities. And we know when people engage with us at a deep level, they learn a lot about the world around them. And it's something we bring to the table with true partners. And we're grateful to see that Calvary looks at that and values that as well. So again, you all have been terrific. We couldn't be more grateful for the partnership. We congratulate you on the Breaking Cycles of Poverty program. We think it's really innovative and thoughtful. We look forward to continued partnerships. I'm sure Joni has said this, but there's lots of ways to engage with us, from participating in some of our events to continuing to do the volunteer work that you're doing. And there's a lot more we're doing online these days, and I think it's an opportunity to sort of plug into some of our communication and things that we're doing that sort of talk about how we're thinking about the COVID-19 pandemic, thinking about racial injustice in this country, how our young people are thinking about it as well. So with that, I wish you all the best. Thank you very much for thinking of the Boys and Girls Clubs of San Francisco, for investing in the Boys and Girls Clubs of San Francisco, and for engaging with the Boys and Girls Clubs of San Francisco. All the best. Thank you.
I want to thank Rob for his time and for the incredible work that he and his team are doing at the Boys and Girls Club. We are grateful that you are doing it and grateful that we can take part in it, even if it is in a small way. I also want to give thanks to the team behind the scenes, to Kathy Baer, Jody Lockman, Robin Morjikian, and David Barnes, who helped make this presentation possible. If you want to learn more about the Boys and Girls Club, you can do so on their website. There will be a slide at the end of this session that tells you what their website is and where you can find out more information. We also hope that you'll join us for future learning opportunities with Calvary. Next week, we will have an interfaith panel talking about encountering the other, how our faith traditions help us navigate our divisions. So we hope that you'll tune in next week for that. Have a great morning and a blessed day.